today we are talking about, as in previous lecture, we have talked about what is the difference between population and sampling and sample. And now we'll talk about what are the different types, techniques of sampling. What are the different types of basically different sampling, right? Okay, now let us start with this pictorial descriptions, which says that there is a, when you talk about the population, which is under, and you're going to have your study under the population, what kind of population you will go through with that? There's a census all the populations, or you're taking the fraction from the, or the subset of the people, which is called sample. So it means you are not working with the whole population, you are working with the sample of the population. You have chosen some of the people who are from all kind of population, and then you work with the sample. There's a difference between sample and the population, and that is a process. And when I say that is an act and a process, sampling is the act and the process. Now, when you take a sample, then you put on the sampling on it. And there's a two kinds of sampling. One is called probabilistic sampling, which is also called probable sampling, and non-probabilistic sampling, right? There's a two basic, majorly type of sampling, probable and non-probable, right? What is probabilistic sampling? Simple random sampling. Again, there are the four types of probability sampling, which is called simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified sampling, and complex sampling. And when we talk about the non-probable sampling, it again has four divisions. One is called convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling, and snowball sampling, right? So I hope that you have having a very good description or a pictorial description in front of you. When we talk about the sampling, there's a majorly two types of sampling, probable and non-probable. When you talk about the non-probable sampling, there are again four types: convenience, purposive, quota, and snowball. When you talk about the probable sampling, simple random sampling, systematic random, stratified sampling, and complex sampling, right? Now, let us discuss one by one. Let's talk about first non-probability sampling. In this type, population sampling, members of the populations do not have equal chance of being selected. Simply, it is the meaning, it's a very, you said, simple definition of non-probability, non-probable definition. In a non-probable sample, an individual are selected based on non-random criteria, and not every individual has a chance of being included. This type of sample is easier and cheaper to access. So that whatever you want to, whenever you start your work, you just work with that, right? Okay. Uh, One thing which is very important with that, this type of sampling is easier and cheaper, as I have told you before. It's easy to access, but you can't use it to make it more statistical inference about the whole population. You can't say that I have taken or I have chosen the more analytical or more rational sample from the target population. So you can't say it is a more valid. It's not that much valid statistical inference you can get it, because that is everyone, as I just mentioned over here. Do not everyone has not equal chance to participate in that. Non-probability sampling techniques are often appropriate for explanatory and qualitative research, right? Where research has to describe a lot, so it can be, you can change, you can ask any questions which is more descriptive, and you can ask anyone, and it's more qualitative. In this type of research, the main aim is not to test a hypothesis about a broad population, but to develop an initial understanding of a small or under-researched population. So there is, again, we'll talk about what do you mean, what is the difference between hypothesis and research questions. Just leave it for right now. But here we talk about it that you can't say that we are not generate any hypothesis in that. We just ask questions according to our research, and then we will find out that whether the researchers, whether whatever the population sample used to say, right? We don't believe, we don't. That is not that much more valid. Due to this, it is not safe to assume that sample fully represent the target population. It is also possible that the researchers deliberately choose the individuals that will participate in the study. So we can say if we feel it is more convenience, ठीक है, हम अपनी convenience के तौर पे हम क्योंकि जा नहीं सकते इतनी दूर, so we'll just find out those people who are easily reachable. So we go to them and then ask questions to fill up the questionnaire and do our research. We don't work with a lot. Now, oh, very nice. When I talk about the four non-probable sampling, it has again four divisions, four types. They're the convenience sampling, as I talked to you, कि आपके पास आपके reach में जो है, those people who are more reachable to you, so you just work with that. कि नीचे शादी हुई भी है, हमारे तो बच्चे हैं और हम जा नहीं सकते, हमारी difficulty है, ये प्रॉब्लम है, वो प्रॉब्लम है, तो हमने जो हमारे पास मिल रहा है, जो अवेलेबल है, हम उन पे काम कर लेते. We don't work a lot. That is called a convenience sampling. Very simple है, ये तो नाम से भी पता चल रहा है, right? The again, which what do you mean? Voluntarily response sampling. It is similar to a convenience sampling. A voluntarily response sampling is mainly based on the on ease of access, basically. Instead of the research choosing a participant and directly contracting to them, people volunteer themselves. Basically, okay, I just when I say I just phone call to someone, I'm doing a research. Those people who are really volunteer, present or share their answers, do come to me and give their answers. So they are voluntary. The respondents are more volunteer to come and have participation in that particular research. So हम ये भी कर रहे होते हैं कि नहीं जी, हम ऐसा करते हैं कि हम तो नहीं जा सकते, उनको बोलो हमारे पास आके ना क्वेश्चन भी ले आए, भर भी दें और फिर चले भी जाएं. So they are voluntarily, they used to believe. Voluntarily basically are those who are really work with the social and ethical issues. तो जो लोग इन कामों पे बात ज़्यादा कर रहे होते हैं, तो वो voluntarily अपने आप को पेश करते हैं कि that we really want to work with that. Okay. The other is called purposive sampling. This type of sampling involves the researcher using their judgment to select the sample that is most useful to the purpose of the research. So you are, and this is more qualitative. Again, it is often used in a qualitative research, and so you want to gain a detailed knowledge of a specific phenomena rather to make a statistical inference. So that purposefully you have chosen those people who are more who are more near to you, more near to your, or more appropriate with your research, right? So you work with. So we were talking about the purposive sampling. Again, purposefully you have chosen those people that these are some of the people who are more relevant or more appropriate to give the answer of my questions. So you just make an effective purpose sample must have you have a clear criteria or rationale to include those people. So it's not like that कि नहीं मेरा सवाल ये है तो इस सवाल के लिए से ही चार लोग बड़े important हैं, so I just work with them. I don't want the other people. बस मैं इन चार लोगों से ज़्यादा सवाल करूँगी. They are gone through with this issue. They are gone through with this experiment. They are gone through with that experience. So the purposeful, that would more purposefully you choose that sample. The last but not the least, snowball sampling. Okay, a beautiful picture is that snowball sampling, which is said if the population is hard to access. Sometimes we do have this problem, the population we have chosen and that is more hard to access. For suppose अगर हम management के किसी बंदे को, HR के किसी को हम choose कर ले इस population में, so it is difficult to reach those people because they are more they are difficult to reach. to reachable, I'll say. So what you do in this population, the snowball sampling can be used to actually recruit participant via other participants. The number of people you have access to snowball as you get in the contact with more people. So for this is that because you cannot go there, so you just give your ball to someone to work on that. So there's a play of catch and throw. So you throw the ball to someone, and the person is throw ball to the other person, and then you will get back the ball and get the answer for that. So just to share the example, for suppose if you are researching on experiencing of a homeless in your city, since there's no list of all homeless people in the city, probability sampling isn't possible because you cannot take it more randomly. So you may meet one person who agreed to participate in the research, and she puts you in a contact with other homeless people that she knows in the area. So you will be working with the people to people. You go to the people and then ask for the help, and they will make accessible to you that you can easily go through with your research, right? So that is the four different types. So, non-probable sampling method is useful for pilot studies, case studies, qualitative research, and for hypothesis development. The sampling method is usually employed in studies that are not interested in the parameters of entire population. Some researchers prefer the sampling techniques because it is cheap, quick, and easy. So you can find out. I think it's easy. Simple random sample. So again, there are the four different types of probability sampling. Simple random sample, systematic sample, stratified sample, and cluster sample. Look at the picture. You will easily find out what is the difference. When you talk about the simple random sampling, it means you have taken the people randomly. You have choose the people randomly. There is no discrimination, any kind of discrimination, differences that you just choose five people from five men and five women. You just take three or two or whatever it is. When you talk of the systematic sample, you can see the picture. So after every two, you will get your person. Every two, you will get a person. So it could be any man or any woman. So that is a systematic sample. There you make a systematic system that after any two person, I'll choose two people. I'll choose two people for that. That is more sampling. Systematic. Stratified means uh, when we talk about the stratified sampling, it is basically method is appropriate when the population has a mixed characteristics, and you want to ensure that every characteristic is proportionally represented in the sample. For suppose if I want to do the research on a language when I saw in Karachi and the metropolitan city, if I want to work with the language of the people, so that would be more stratified. Why it is stratified? Because there are more people from their first language is something. So first language would be Urdu. One has some Sindhi. So it's not clear, but it's stratified. So it's not clear with that. You divided the population into subgroup called strata based on the relevant characteristics, gender, age, income, bracket rule. So we'll say the first population, those people the strata would be from the sample. I've chosen those people whose first language would be Urdu. So I've just go through with that, and then the subgroup, then the subgroup, and the subgroup. So and then I make that is a strata of the stratified sample. When you talk about the cluster sampling is also involves the dividing the population into the subgroups, but each group should have a similar characteristic to the whole sample. Instead of sampling individual from each subgroup, you randomly select entire subgroup. If it is a particularly possible, you might include every individual from each sample cluster. So what could be the let me give you the example, then you will say. For suppose there is a company has office of 10 cities across the company. So it means 10 cities and having offices in there. All have same number of employees, with similar roles. For suppose they are doing uh, sales, sales and purchase, right? Sales and purchase. They are working with on the same role. You don't have the capacity to travel to every office to collect your data, so you use random sampling to select three offices. These are your clusters basically, right? So that would be because all have a similar role, all are in similar gender, the subgroups are the same. So you just choose only three. From 10, you just choose to three. It means it is more cluster sample. It is because it has been given in a subgroup, right? So this is a cluster group, cluster sampling. The advantage of using random sampling or probability sampling is the accuracy of the statistical method after experiment. It can also used to estimate the population parameters. It is representative of the entire population. It is also a reliable method to eliminate sample bias. So it is more random, more you say more valid, more representative, and more the parameter has been set over there, and there's a more statistically analytical, right? That's what you have to do. You just have to go through with this slide, and then give it the feedback on that you have understood the whole thing. So I'll just give you a random, you'll say the random definition of all these. Okay, features of good sampling. What are the good features of sampling or good characteristic of the good sample design? Must result fully representative sample from the population. You have to take in you have to take in the representative sample of the population. Sample design must be result in a small sampling error. Okay, sampling design must be viable in the context of fund available for the research study. So there must be, if you are doing a very big research, so you'll be working with the research, your fund having available. So it is working like that. Sample design must be sample design must be such so that systematic bias can be controlled in a better way. If there's a sample design would be more systematic, so you can control the biasness and the non-biasness. Sample should be, since such a result of the sample study can be applied in general for the universe with a reasonable level of the confidence. So that would be that more reachable, more the people are more rational with that particular research. Characteristic of good sample. Following are the characteristics of good sample would be more important questions in your examination also. Sample design should be